Okay, I was going to recap some stuff and recap some stuff on depth, and hopefully that'll be like basically the last video that I make on depth, or maybe not the last, but should be. The point is that I gave you a list of all the unsharp Nikkor lenses that are out there currently, and there's only 8 of them in current production. As far as being unsharp, so then the question becomes is like, wow, so now I'm not hunting for sharp lenses, I'm hunting for other awesome attributes. And it's like, well, yeah, Timmy, that's the answer there. I mean, that's where you can get a really good lens, because there's all sorts of people out there that's like, I bought this lens and I know it's really sharp, you know, I can stick it on a tripod and it's sharp, there's just something about this lens that sucks. It's like, yeah, that's exactly it. Color saturation. That's why all these ultra zoom lenses, the images look sharp. There's no shadow detail gradation that give it depth. There are ultimately 3 types of depth. There's bokeh depth, which is purely optical. It actually is subject isolation. You know, it's isolating from the background, and that's purely optical. And micro contrast depth, or perceived depth, which is electrical and optical, meaning the actual capacitance of the glass, the ED glass, how the light actually transfers those low EV value intertonal gradations between increasingly smaller and smaller tones, or ultimately the lines resolved per millimeter. So that's electrical and optical. And third is purely optical. That's actually the rendered depth due to lens construction. You know, you could have a 35 millimeter lens that's got like 16 elements in it, and it just, you know, it could be sharp as hell, but it could suck. And it really does. They always do suck. They got that much glass in them. And another 35 millimeter, like the 35 millimeter f2D series autofocus Nikkor, it's only got a few glass elements in it. You know, it's got a little bit of vignetting, and it's not super sharp in the corners. It's not bad at all, but that lens is awesome. Great color saturation, you know, great rendered depth. It's an incredible lens, and it's damn cheap too, by the way. And people say, well, you know, it's a 2-dimensional image, you know, what are we talking about depth for? We're talking about binocular disparity. We're talking about a lot of things that have to do with depth when it comes to lens. And when you can eliminate out what you're hunting for as far as it being a sharp lens, I'm not talking about how it's built, because there are certainly variations in how a lens is built, whether someone was scratching their butt when they're building your lens and they did a crappy job. That's something else. That's standards and build and consistency and sample variation. But I mean, this is also a 2-dimensional image. This is an art hologram. I've actually got some large art holograms. I should have brought those out. This is also a 2-dimensional image, but oh my God, look at the depth on that thing. You know, I hear people talk about that all the time. I mean, what are we talking about depth in a picture? I mean, what do you really mean? I mean, it's like it's a picture, and you know, it's flat. You know, I printed out. I don't know what sort of depth you're talking about. You see the depth now? Now that thing is 3-dimensional. Oh my God! Yeah, it's got length, width, and depth now. Yeah. Now it's got depth. The same thing. The same thing in the pictures is what I'm talking about. Perceived depth, rendered depth from the lens, from the bokeh, from the micro contrast, whether it's there or it's not there. So now you got all these other color saturation, acutants, vignetting, all these other great lens criteria that you need to be hunting out for, instead of just, well, that's too much, makes my head hurt. Well, if you want to pick out a good lens, then that's stuff you need to concentrate on. A lot of people can't even see it until you point it out or compare it right next to another lens, like Yannick did in the prior video. It's like, well, here's the 28mm Zeiss Otis, really expensive lens, but it sucks. It's very sharp, but it sucks. And here's a nice old Nikkor low element count lens that is just awesome. Yeah. So the point is that concentrate. You know, trying to develop a finer taste. You know, kind of like a wine taster. You know, they can sample all these tones and other things that exist in the wine. You know, obviously I don't really like those sort of people, but it's about having a finer taste in lenses. That way you're not just buying a sharp lens. Well, my lens is sharp. It's like, yeah, but that's all it is. It's sharp. It's not anything else. Oh, what else is important? Well, this stuff is important. Ultimately, also, it's about lighting, too. I mean, you can take the best lens in the world that has all the great attributes, or nearly all of them, but if you don't have good lighting, then everything really does suck. So it's about lighting. I mean, it's called photography for a reason. That's why I try to get people to understand that it's not about, having all these damn lenses, which is nice, but you got to have the nice lighting tools because, you got to feed the lenses the light to make them shine. You could take an awesome lens and it could, be mediocre if you don't have proper lighting, but that's a point for another discussion. So anyway, think about that and, drill it into your head, because you don't actually hear photography magazines or anybody else online talking about this sort of stuff. But it's important. And, they're sitting there with their slide rule. Some things that really don't have, really awesome measuring standards yet, like micro contrast and bokeh depth and color saturation. There are a lot of empirical quanta that lenses are judged by. But even Zeiss will tell you that an MTF chart ultimately does not, this is Zeiss's own words, MTF charts ultimately don't tell you a tremendous amount about a lens. They don't. They tell you a lot about it, but they don't tell you the whole picture of how it actually renders an image and what attributes, good or bad, it does or doesn't have. So anyway, think about that. Bye.